Any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last thing we have is the fire company report, monthly report. Everybody has that in their packet, and that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Public Works and Administration, Mr. Brown, you have anything for us tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we met and the rock salt bid came to the floor, one of the more anticipated bids of the year. Bids were opened and publicly read for the purchase of rock salt for the 2022-2023 season on Wednesday, August 16, 2023. The tabulation of bids is, as you see on the screen. If council wishes to award the bid to the low bidder, it can do so by making a motion to award the bid to Riverside Construction Materials Incorporated at a price of $66 per ton delivered, $65.85 undelivered, conditioned upon receipt of a properly executed performance bond and compliance with the bid specifications. Morton Salt held the contract for 2022-23 at $67.76 delivered and $67 undelivered. So you can see that we're actually getting it less expensive this year, and I will make a motion that that be accepted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Levrone. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public?
Just that we have a salt bin filled with $67.76 per ton salt, unfortunately.
Well, it's the way.
Obviously, supply and demand has moved the price this year as well.
Rather have a full bin and pay the extra $1.
Any other questions or comments from anybody? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Ellinger is not here for comments, but as usual, the department had a stellar month, especially getting ready for the big weekend last weekend for Arts Fest and the bike race. And I'd also like to congratulate Dave Berger for his well-deserved promotion to Assistant Public Works Director and Head Foreman. Dave's been with the borough basically since he was, born. And we wish him well, and we know we're in very good hands. Also, the paving for the year has been done, and it's been done well. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Community and Government Affairs, I'm not sure. Mr. Bellows in here, did we?
Checking on that right now. He's
Okay.
in by phone. I don't know if he's able to do his report.
Yes, I think.
We here?
We can hear him.
Can they?
Okay, yeah, I have one item for council consideration, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Bell.
Attached, please find the above referenced resolution. This is resolution 8, public guidelines for public, setting for the first time written guidelines for public boroughs public.
I don't think it's working.
View the resolution and just recommend if
In the tunnel.
all of the recommendations.
Do you want me
My
to?
motion.
Yeah, I think, hold up, Mr. Bell, you're breaking up, so maybe we can just read it here in your.
I have it in front. I can
We all have it.
I can present it.
Okay, can you read it?
Yeah.
We'll have Mr. Brown read it.
Attached, please find the above referenced resolutions setting for the first time written guidelines for public participation in the borough's meetings. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee has reviewed the resolution and is recommending approval. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it can do so by motion, and I'll do it in proxy for Mr. Bell.
We have a second. Mr. Frederick, was that?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Yes, sir. Could you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm Edward Backhouse
Okay.
from Buckingham. I'd like to comment on the public comments.
We're not at public comments at this point.
I mean, on this public comments resolution you're talking about. You're recommending guidelines for public meetings. I'd like to comment on your.
Oh, you're commenting on the resolution?
You're right.
Okay.
Guidelines.
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
Yeah. So I object to having to identify the street where a public commenter is. Some people are on smaller streets. We don't want people to be intimidated, afraid of comments because of, for example, at the Central Bucks School Board meeting, some people don't want to face the truth or so, and they get angry. And so they might want to retaliate against someone for saying something in the public comment that they disagree with. So I think that for the Sunshine Act, you want the public to comment, you say where they're from, Buckingham, but to say the specific street where the person is could identify and lead to further retaliation for someone questioning. Under the Sunshine Act, the public has the right to know certain things. This public comments should not limit the ability of people to make comments for information that the public has the right to know. For example, at the Central Bucks School District, where there was a meeting last Tuesday where a person who complained about illegal or possible improper actions on a member of the school board, and then he complained about that, and when he tried to present the written comments of the right to know thing that showed that he was right, that the person had acted unethically, then he was attacked like, I don't think exposing the truth or making a truthful statement or presenting that. There's a mention in this guidelines about a person should have the right to present material that's honest and truthful and be able to present written evidence. So people there claim that the fact that he offered this stuff was grounds for the person to attack him with the chair.
Is this relevant to the question about street name?
Yeah, the street name will intimidate people and be afraid to come forward because you can't fix stupid, and sometimes when you say something and it's not clear, you could talk, like as a teacher, former teacher, I learned you can talk, you got to try and make things simple, people to understand, and so you want to have a response, and you want to try and figure out some basis of what people can understand and deal with. So the very fact that a person is questioning or is presenting something that is very important shouldn't, and because there's a conflict between money, honey, and the truth. So if someone steps on someone's toes.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that comment about money, honey.
The concept is that the fact that you're speaking the truth, a person in public.
What's that got to do with money?
Well, people are very sensitive about things that affect their money, their financial status.
So to clarify, you're objecting to paragraph 5, where it indicates when anyone participating virtually is recognized by the chair, they must identify him or herself by name, street name, and municipality of residence.
Yeah, I don't think that.
And the same provision in chapter 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the,
That's the objection?
that's
That's the main objection.
Okay.
That's the request.
And then there may be some reference to not tolerating physical violence or people threatening people with a chair. And if a person does that, they should be removed and not necessarily shut down the whole meeting and deprive everyone else of a chance to talk.
Well, thank you for your
Okay.
comments.
There's
you.
two factors. It
All right.
should be public. People have the right to speak and not put someone who acts improperly, goes to a meeting and can't control their temper. Most crimes come from people who can't control themselves and temper or listen to someone else.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We're not at public comment. We're not at public comment.
Are you taking comment about this?
Yes, you can.
Fauna Diarmond, Plumstead Township. So apologies, but I am having tech issues, so I was only able to just now see some of the things on this, but I did see a couple things I wanted to ask about. The 2 minutes, that seems like an awfully short time for certain topics. So while I can understand that there are times where you might want to make a motion and vote for specific meetings for 2 minutes, I would encourage you to think about at least 3 minutes. as a general rule. You guys can always vote and change that during a particular meeting. One of the other concerns, I also, if you're saying that somebody has to sign in and state their full address on the record, I take issue with that personally because I don't feel safe in this town. There's certain members up here, I don't feel safe. And I think that there are people in this town that would want to do me harm based on comments I have made in public using my First Amendment rights. And I have felt intimidated and bullied. And I think stating the municipality and your name is sufficient and it meets the law. The other thing here is when you're talking about that someone has to address only the chair, right, or the president, I'm wondering how that fits into the law. So I don't know how familiar you are with the Pennsbury ruling that happened recently, last year or so, where some, basically when First Amendment rights were challenged and people were told they couldn't say or couldn't do, it went before a judge and judge said, no, they have First Amendment rights. So basically it's limiting a person's First Amendment right to speak to a council member if they wish to address them. So I don't know if that's another thing you might want to look up. It's along the same lines where you can't tell somebody they can't be critical, you know, or they you know, if they're allowed to say to somebody up on this board, I don't like what you did. That's First Amendment protections. And one other thing, the 45 minutes. If that's the general rule, again, I would question why do you need to make that the standing rule, okay? I could understand, again, if this room is packed and we've got 100 people in here and you have all these people signing up and you're not gonna get out of here before midnight, then you might wanna make a motion that evening to limit public comment to an hour and a half, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. But to make that a standing, you know, 45 minutes only, I think you're going above and beyond and limiting free speech. And so I would just ask you to consider that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? I believe there was discussion at the committee meeting about needing the street name and the address. That was eliminated. I wasn't
Just the
at
name. The sign-in sheet has the name and not the address.
That has the name and not the address. Okay.
And just to clarify, the resolution also requires speakers or commenters to address council, not council as a whole, not the, it does not limit you to addressing the chair.
Yeah, Mr. President, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. You're clear. Go ahead.
The procedures about identifying the speaker's name, municipality, and name of street are not new. They're not proposed as rules changes. It's really just codifying existing practices for that particular provision. Over.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Any other comments from anyone? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I don't believe there's any other report.
No, no.
Meeting Governmental Affairs.
Okay, moving on. Zoning and planning, Ms. Jarrett.
We did meet this month, but had a pretty light schedule. There was nothing from the zoning hearing board. Do you have anything to add to that, Ms. Highland, or? No. Yep. So we only had a certificate of appropriateness for HARB recommendations. At its regular monthly meeting, the Borough of Doylestown's Historic and Architectural Review Board, HARB, recommended the following for building applications. 129 Southwest Street for a porch, floor cladding. They recommended approval of the application as submitted. 401 Maple Avenue, exterior renovations. The HARB recommended approval of the application with the condition that the chimney stone veneer at the top of the chimney will match the existing chimneys and stone. And 202 East Court Street exterior renovations. The HARB recommended approval of the application as submitted with the proposed materials list. The Zoning and Planning Committee recommends the council approve the application in accordance with the HARB's recommendations. And if council wishes to follow the committee's recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Lerone. Excuse me. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none. I'd like to call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Environment and Rec, Ms. Margolis, what do you have for us?
Yeah, we have a few things tonight. The first is the Burpee Pavilion mural. Attached, please find a proposal from resident Melissa Russell for a beautiful mural on the playground side of the Burpee Park Pavilion. The mural would cover the current over 30-year-old mural, which is badly in need of replacement. Borough staff would prep the wall and reimburse paint costs. The Park and Recreation Board and Environment and Recreation Committee have reviewed the proposal and are recommending approval. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And who was it? Ms. Garrett? Amy, thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public?
Sounds great.
Thank you. I think,
Live right by there.
yeah. They've done a nice job with that building compared to what it was like 5 or 6 years ago, so,
It's a beautiful park now, too.
yeah.
That nice when my kids were young.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is Nice Park softball field fee waiver request. In July, Borough Council waived 2023 softball field permit fees for Plumstead softball. Plumstead serves a large number of Doylestown children and had assisted the Doylestown Athletic Association in the spring by accommodating a number of their registrants when DAA had insufficient players to form a team. Similarly, the Newtown-based Rock Gold softball program has accommodated a number of Doylestown children in their travel program due to DAA no longer having one. This team is more than half comprised of Doylestown players and has received a permit with DAA's acquiescence to practice at Nice Park this fall. The Park and Recreation Board and Environment and Recreation Committee are recommending that council waive the 2023 field permit fee of $210 for the Rock Gold softball program. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Yeah, thank you. And that was a second by Mr. Lerone. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions?
Just to disclose that if council does go forward with this fee waiver, it will personally save me $19.25. Because my kid is one of the 11 players on the team.
So you'll recuse yourself, John?
I will not vote, but I don't want to cost myself that, but yes, it'll save me $19.25.
Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Yes, ma'am. Could you come up and identify yourself?
Donna Shannon, Doylestown Township. I just want to say I represent Doylestown Athletic Association, and you've been more than generous representing Doylestown Athletic Association all this time, and for you to extend that while we give them our space, it's a wonderful, nice, kind thing to do for a community organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from any members of the public? Yes, Ivana?
Ivana Diarmond, Plumstead. Question about there is going to be a movie shown outside. Is that correct? Over at the park across from here? Rocky Horror Picture Show? I just want to make sure I'm correct before I ask my question.
Council is at this time considering the waiver of a fee waiver for Nice Park softball fields?
Okay, so it won't be, but it'll still be outdoors.
We're talking about the softball fields over by Doyle
Your
Elementary
question's not
School,
relevant to
It's
the
not relevant
agenda
to the subject before us right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said general comments.
No.
Apologies.
We're still on the agenda items. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And next is authorization to draft and advertise an ordinance adding red maple to the planting list in the subdivision and land development ordinance. In January 2021, Borough Council amended the subdivision and land development ordinance with an updated list of approved plantings. Due to concerns related to the spotted lanternfly, red maples were not included on the list. There's now been nearly 3 years to observe conditions, and the Environment and Recreation Committee is recommending that red maple, the Latin name Acer rubrum, be added to the list of approved plantings. The Environment and Recreation Committee recommends that council authorize the drafting and advertising of an ordinance to add red maples to the list of approved plantings in the subdivision and land development ordinance. If council is in agreement, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by, it was Jen Jarrett. Thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none. I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Margolis. Mr. Laverne, do you have anything for us?
The Water Utility Committee did not meet this month, and that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Finance and Pension, Ms. Popkin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item on our agenda is the disclosure of 2024 minimum municipal obligation, which is the MMO, to the pension plan, and this is for the non-uniform pension plan. Act 204 of 1984, as amended, governs that the funding requirements for all municipal pension plans. The law requires that the chief administrative officer of each municipal pension plan to inform the governing body of the municipality of the plan's expected financial obligation for this coming year. This must be done by the last business day in September. The memo is intended to satisfy the legal requirements of Act 205. The calculation of the 2024 plan cost, or the MMO, required an estimate of the 2023 W-2 wages of the employees covered by this plan. I have indicated on the attached worksheets my best estimates of the plan costs. Questions on our non-uniform pension costs can be addressed to either me or the staff at Girard Pension Services, and we list the phone number. Please understand that the MMO is the municipality's 2024 bill for this pension plan. The calculated obligation must be paid by December 31st, 2024, so that would be next year. The obligation must be met with general fund monies or with general state aid to the municipal pensions to which we may be entitled to in Act 205. So our projected 2024 non-uniform pension obligation will be $283,350. Should you have any questions on the MMO, please feel free to contact myself or the above agencies. And we don't need a approval on this. This is just information that we're giving to you from the Finance Committee. And then the next item on the agenda that we have is the adoption of the Cyber Incident Response Plan. And this is new for us. Attached, you will find the Borough of Doylestown Cyber Incident Response Plan that was prepared by the Delaware Valley Property and Liability Insurance Trust as part of our annual risk control assessment. Although there is not a quorum present at our Finance and Pension Committee meeting, these members present, those members present reviewed the document and are recommending that council adopts the plan. If council agrees with this recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I do so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Margolis. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of the council?
Mr. President, I have one question for Ms. Popkin.
Go ahead, Mr. Bell.
The plan seems to contemplate the establishment of a team, and several significant elements of the plan are left to the team to establish. But is there language in there that governs how the team is composed and established and terms and so forth?
This is for the cyber incident, Mr. Bell?
Yeah, did I jump ahead?
No, no.
Ben, the members of the team are included in Appendix A.
Oh, you want me to scroll?
Do you want us to read it?
I can tell you who's on the team would be myself, Tom Bresnahan, our IT provider from Thompson Networks, Dan Rosen, the secretary contact from Thompson Networks, Phil Ellinger, deputy borough
Yeah, I
manager.
see it now.
Okay.
And these are recommended or best practice for the team.
Yeah, so I guess my one comment is that the communications plan says that the team may elect to have a communications plan, but I think that's a more or less required element would be the communications plan.
I would
I'm happy to
agree.
leave that to the team.
I would agree and indicate that we will form that team or that plan.
Okay, thanks. That resolves my question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Matt Major. I'm a resident of the borough. Not why I'm here, but I do have a question because I did scan through that plan. Curious as to why breach counsel is left off of the list of team members. Breach counsel, yeah, the lawyers.
The borough solicitor is listed as,
Solicitor is listed on there.
Outside counsel who would handle the cyber response? Or, because typically you would hire the cyber response firm. Is that who your role is, or is that what your role is?
Well, it depends on the circumstance. If it was deemed that it would be necessary to hire outside specialized counsel in this area, then that's what we would recommend to the borough. But
council would have to make that.
yeah, it would be up to council then to hire that person at the time.
Sure, I would just urge the members to consider identifying breach counsel now, because every one of these matters is very, very, very complex, and you need that particular team member right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, the third item and the last item on the report is the finance report, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Brinker.
Thank you, Ms. Popkin. Everyone was provided with the finance report. The total for all funds is
We have to vote?
Excuse
$890,000.
me, we have not voted on
You didn't
this.
vote on the other one.
Yeah, we have a vote.
I'm sorry.
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we will consider your comment. Thank you.
Okay,
Ms. Popkin.
thank you. I'll turn the finance report over to Ms. Brinker.
Back to me. The finance report is included in everybody's packet. Total for all funds was $890,683.71.
And I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Ms. Margolis.
Nope.
Oh.
Jen.
Jen, I'm sorry, Miss, sorry about that. My right ear is not working too well tonight. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that's it, correct? Amy?
That's the end of my report, Mr. President.
Personnel Committee, we did not meet this month, therefore there's nothing to report. And as far as the professionals, Mr. Doherty, do you have anything for us?
Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Bucky, you have anything for us?
No report tonight, thank you.
Okay. Chief, do you have anything for us?
No report tonight, thank you.
Thank you. I do not have a president's report tonight. Do we have any items of old business? Hearing nothing. Any items of new business? Hearing nothing, we'll go to open public comment. Yes, sir.
Sorry, before I jump in, I meant no disrespect
None taken.
to you. I am a lawyer too,
Yeah.
and I know that area of law is way outside of my boundaries, so I stay in my lane. So no disrespect if you have that
No,
experience.
we appreciate your comment. It was-
Thank you. Again, my name is Matt Major. I live in the borough on North Hamilton Street. There are two items that weren't on today's agenda that I would like the council to consider or to either consider placing on agendas for the appropriate group. And those are related to traffic control on North Hamilton Street. I moved in 6 years ago, and now with the prospect of a new business coming in where the old Borough building is, I believe it's a hotel, an event space. There are concerns of the neighbors on my street, especially those neighbors with young kids, regarding the rate of speed at which travelers fly up North Hamilton Street on a constant basis. It's posted 25 miles per hour. I understand speed studies have been done in the past, but that is not an accurate reflection of what happens there on a day-to-day basis. There are also travelers on a weekly basis that go down the wrong way on that one-way street. We would like to propose either a new study be conducted on that street, one that isn't flawed such that it accounts for the urban elements that are in Doylestown with children, pedestrians, events, things like that, as well as the upcoming traffic that's going to be generated by the hotel and the event space and all that. Speed tables have been tossed around to restrict the flow of traffic or the speed of traffic to get travelers to slow down a little bit because it's a cut-through street. And then the second issue with related to that is permit parking only on North Hamilton Street. It is an issue that's been raised. It's not an issue that I will be dealing with much longer because the zoning board approved me to put a garage in, but all of my neighbors don't have driveways. And they constantly rely on street parking, and that just doesn't exist when it's on the weekend and it's busy. And it's only going to get worse as event space is rented out and utilized by the hotel. Love it, love the development, but we just want to protect all the young kids and families that are walking up and down North Hamilton Street on the sidewalks and have to deal with people who use that street as a cut-through. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What block? Are you talking about both blocks, or?
So it's mostly from Union into town. I live right by Decatur where it intersects with North Hamilton Street. And as people come down Union and make that left-hand turn on a North Hamilton Street as the cut-through, they fly up that street.
So you're talking about the block where it's one-way going into
Yes.
town, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a portion there that's
It's a two-way street, a little short two-way street, and then
about 100 feet, yeah.
there's a short two-way street at the other end of it, too. So
Correct.
We'll
Nobody
undertake-
abides by that two-way coming from the other end, though. I can tell you that. I get, on a weekly basis, I'm sitting on my porch, and some person who's completely oblivious just drives down the wrong way, not even looking at the fact that all the cars are faced the opposite directions. There's no street signs facing them, and there's no way two cars are going to pass. It's a problem that's getting increasingly worse as the town becomes more popular and more built up and more people come in. And you have a Target moving in, and you have this hotel and this event space coming in, the new brewery coming in right around the corner. This problem is going to be compounded as these businesses open and start to become more popular and popular. And I just fear that if we don't do something about it now, it's just going to get worse. Cars have been sideswiped already, and only to the benefit of people who have Ring cameras are they able to catch those people. But you move the police department out of there, it just got worse.
We will institute a speed study.
Thank you.
We'll get it on the schedule. Isn't there already permit parking on Hamilton?
There is, but it's not full-time.
Right, it permits parking, 2-hour parking, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Correct.
And it's permit parking,
It's 2-hour Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and after that, there's no restriction.
there's no restriction.
And that's going to be the problem time.
So you're looking for a full
Full-time.
restriction?
And I understand neighboring streets have already sought that and are in the process of seeking that, and they've gotten good reception, such as Harvey Avenue, which is the other side of the dangerous speeding through town to kind of get through and opposite sides of the town. But that's, yes, that is the permit parking right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully it will encourage people to use the parking garages that we put in.
Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am, can you come up?
Hi, I'm Judy Comiskey. I'm from Doylestown. I live on Steeplechase. Thank you so much.
You're in the township, correct? Not the borough?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. That's
Yep, down the hill. From Clinton. Thank you so much for, I don't know who cleaned up the rocks and the stones that were flying down the sidewalks in
be us.
several locations. Thank you so much for having that cleaned up. I noticed today coming up to the meeting that that post beside the bench is gone, and that was, I thought, was a hazard as well. I appreciate it. I just saw that you have $890,000 that you spent in September. Perhaps you can spend some of that money beautifying the area for the people coming into our town. It's a reception area from the trains as well as the buses, and I talked about this last month. But it needs to be beautified. It's a representation of Doylestown. It's one of our transportation hubs, and we'd like to welcome people into Doylestown with a representation of who we are. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, come on up.
Thank you, Ed Mackhouse, former scientist, engineer, teacher in physics. I'd like to comment that you have an environmental group, and I'd like to say that both Republican Party and Democratic Party have people on both sides of the issues of vaccines and things, and I think that truth matters. I think that the environmental factors, effects of water and pollution, air things, it's well known that there's harmful things in that. As a scientist, I question the vaccines. The vaccines, you're injecting something directly into a person that can cause pollution inside their body. And I think people in both parties want something easy, an easy solution to prevent people from being sick with vaccines and all. But I think the science is very complex, and there's no scientist that's able to evaluate the effectiveness of the vaccines directly, so they use statistics. And the statistics show that if you compare, say, the Amish people who don't take vaccines with the people that take vaccines with their children, you see that there's a trend of a doubling of the people who get autism with their children. And as the trend continues like this, you would have half or a third of the children with autism. So I think that, and the vaccine industry, money, honey, you have to look at balance the truth, the science, with what is the real effectiveness of the things. People want a solution, it makes good, like doctors can give out sugar pills, it makes the people believe that it's going to help them. They want an easy solution, where the basic solution is people getting the mental help, getting social, dealing with their emotional problems properly, and having a good diet. That's what we can control. Like, if you believe them, they would say that, oh, if you're older, you should have to get a vaccine because you're more vulnerable. I'm 80 now, and I didn't take any of those vaccines in the flu. I only got a minor thing. I know of a lot of people who took vaccines and have very bad effects. And then the other, couple other problems of safety that's affecting us, affects everyone. The trend, I don't know if you've seen Oppenheimer, it's a trend that we can get to nuclear war. Then, as a Democrat or Republican, we have a responsibility to, like Republicans have a responsibility to make sure we have credible people that could represent us. And the Democrats have I used to be a Democrat when I was a teacher, have a responsibility to see you have credible people. And
I'm sorry, your time is up,
Sorry,
sir.
that's the time.
And to follow up on what you just said, let me respond. Most of what you brought up, we have absolutely no control over as a board here. So I think we cautioned you on that last month when you spoke about a number of subjects. We really can't do anything about that. If you want to get a vaccine, you're free to do it. If you don't want to get a vaccine, you're free to do that too. We have no control over that here.
You do have a...
Your time is up, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, come on up.
Anna Diarmond, Plumstead. So the park behind us here, the new one, I understand there's going to be a showing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show outdoors. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
My question is, how are you planning to allow this movie to be, it's a rated R movie. It's got
Well, I couldn't understand your last couple of words.
The movie is a rated R movie. It is a movie that is an adult movie. I'm just wondering why the decision was made to show it outside and how it's a park with a tot lot. And I'm just kind of curious why that location was chosen, and how do you all plan to make sure that children are not exposed to adult content? That's just a question. And then another question is, I have done a right to know, and in one of the emails, there was the anti-bullying program that the HRC had done, and we were referred to, I'll say we, because I think that's what we were referred to, as disruptors. I have never come to a meeting here and disrupted. I feel I've been within the law, and I've used my First Amendment rights. I've never been intimidating or violent with anybody. And I want to know what the council is going to do to heal this sort of division where you all look at someone like me on different political ends of the spectrum, so to speak, although I'm very moderate. All of you up here, there's nobody up here that I know that represents anybody in this town or who works here, who comes here, that's considered a Republican or on the right or conservative. And I'm just wondering what you all plan to do to create an environment in Doylestown that is truly inclusive and is not a situation where we had at the school board meeting where a Democrat picked up a chair and tried to hurt, potentially kill somebody that they disagreed with. That was frightening. I witnessed it. And just being called a disruptor.
Your time's up.
Would like to know what you guys are going to do about it. Thank you.
Anybody else, public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. We do not have an executive session tonight, correct, John?
We do not.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to bring up just one more time about how great in addition to what Public Works did for the Arts Fest and Bike Race this past weekend, the efforts of both the Bucks County Classic people and, of course, Discover Doylestown, Chris and Paul and the army of volunteers that they had to pull off a spectacular weekend with great crowds that went off with no problems at all.
Well, thank you. That was certainly quite an event, and it brought a lot of people into town. So
we did.
How was the parking on Hamilton Street? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.